Good morning.
How are you?
Good. So I grabbed myself an iced coffee because even though it's like the middle of the afternoon for me, I know it's an early morning for you. So I figured you were having your coffee too.
I am. I'm having my morning coffee. It's my most favorite time of the morning.
Yeah, before everyone's awake.
Yeah. Yep. Or even if people are awake, I just love it. You know, you only have it once. I'm sorry?
You just only have it once a day? Uh-oh. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So you just have it once a day, you were saying? Yeah.
Well, in the morning, and then I'll have a couple glasses.
I'm the same way too. I'm totally the same way. So I was like, ooh, an afternoon iced coffee sounds so good to me right now. Yeah, I actually put in my, that post I just did today, like, have a virtual coffee date. I was like, oh, how fitting. Here we go.
I saw that. That's super clever to have to, have a morning routine. And then literally coffee is it for me. If I don't have coffee, my day is completely off.
Yeah, and we do it anyway, right? Like for everyone who is like traditionally going to an office or going to work, like you have this sort of routine of like get up, get your day started, and then you walk in somewhere and like you start. So it's like one of the tricks that like we who stay at home do is like having that sort of routine and having like that signal of like, okay, I'm ready to get started. Like, let me just have some me time. Because we're not commuting. We're not getting up,
the one thing, though, that I haven't done is I haven't used my timer on my coffee.
Oh.
To go off at like 6:30. I think I should start doing that.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty genius because then the smell of the coffee is going to like help you wake up.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I have a French press, so I have to sit there and wait for my coffee.
Oh, my girlfriend used 10 years ago, she introduced me to the French press. And I was like, yo, what is this gadget?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Like it is. And you have to get the right amount of coffee in there. It's
right.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess.
It's different.
It is. It's a little different. So thanks for joining me. I wanted to I loved kind of the quote when I asked you for a quote around perspective during this time. I loved what you, some of the content you're putting out at like the exact same time was so ideal. And one of the things you said that really stuck with me is, don't give in to the pressure. So I really wanted to just talk to you about that. Like for those of us who are hustling and doing our business right now, I know one of our biggest fears is asking people to buy something. Another one of our biggest fears is like showing up and showing everybody what we have to give and fearing that people are going to be like, okay, wrong time, wrong place. Right? Like in the middle of all of this. Yeah. So I just wanted to get your perspective on this and kind of lead you in with, your own quote of like, let go of the pressure. And I just wanted to talk about it. So let's talk. Tell me.
Well, thank you so much for acknowledging that. I actually am super surprised with the response I got from that post. And it probably resonates with a lot of women, moms, entrepreneurs. No matter the gender, really, because I think in life, we really do put that pressure. And, I actually got it from Gary Vee. And during the time of my start of podcasting, I think I was like in my episode 30 somethings. In a couple years ago, and I really needed some motivation because I just was not seeing any results. I just kept, I had that passion, but I wasn't seeing anything. So I find this YouTube and Gary Vee is giving advice to someone who's launching a podcast. And this person is already probably set. Like they have a following. I think it's like a NASCAR person who's popular, who's doing a launch. So he was like, yo, I want to try to get my launch at like 100,000 listens. That's my goal, right? And Gary was like, whoa, wait, like hold up. It might not be your launch. It might not be your 15th episode. It might not be your 50th episode. It might be that 97th episode that gets you over that hump or changes the dynamic of your show. And he goes, that's when he introduced how we put that false pressure on ourselves. Yeah. And that was like totally me. I needed to hear that. And, it really helps right now, especially with all of the changes that our world is going through. And I think the biggest thing is that we need to adapt in today's time, I mean, how do you feel about the pressure right now? And it's really false if you think about it.
Yeah. That's been so much noise in my own brain lately of like, okay, wait, but what is true? What are these sort of false pressures? And I would say, like, for me, the quickest answers are the same false pressures that were there before this even happened, right? Like, to your point, I was talking with Joseph Rubelli last night. We're talking about the vanity metrics really being a problem just overall in society, right? Us as entrepreneurs, professionals go through the same thing. What are these false pressures, right? Like, are we so consumed with the number of followers that we have and the number of likes that we have? Or are we better off spending our time creating something that is really, truly valuable? And like listening to the actual people who have problems as opposed to chasing down and trying to get people to follow you and join you who like don't really care or have no need from you. And I say, so for me, it's like really trying to distinguish between like, is it really different now? And from the different conversations I've just been having with so many experts, my own coach, and then the clients whom I have, is that those false pressures are the same before this pandemic started and here and now, because they haven't changed. I mean, our situation has changed, but there's still a lot of the same things going on. Hey, Justina.
I think you're right. I think that it is a lot of the same. I think it's more amplified.
Yeah.
When you are in a relationship with someone and you have your issues and then you have a baby, that baby is going to make every issue huge and amplified.
Bigger. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Other dimensions. That's true. Yep.
Like whatever issues you haven't talked about, it's going to arise when you're raising that child. When you're waking up at 3 a.m. to feed the baby, you're going to think about all the problems you have. Same thing for the pandemic. It's creating, more visibility, especially with isolating ourselves. We're thinking more about all of those negativity.
Right. Everything feels magnified, right? Like you're looking at it with this like lens of like much bigger eyes. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So it is, we need to be more positive more than ever. I think this is actually the time to nurture the prospects we have. So instead of like being terrified of, well, do I want to sell? Do I even put out anything? Like, no, this is the time where they need you.
Right. Asking yourself, like, how can I just serve the people who I have now? Like, how can I serve them better? That's absolutely a way to find yourself making progress in a place that doesn't feel comfortable for you. That's absolutely a beautiful place to be. So another part of what you shared with me before is this like really overarching message of, make progress and no need for perfection, right? So let's talk about that. I think that was like a perfect, I feel like that's where we're going.
Yeah. So I think progress is really the journey we're in, and we're just so caught up in trying to have that perfect. Everything needs to be perfect at the perfect time. But it's the journey, right? And that's huge for me because I've been in this journey for about 2.5 years now, 2.5, 3 years. This summer's 3 years. And I remember my first year in, and I was like, what am I doing? And why am I not getting what I want? And that perfection is that expectation to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's like 1 year in, I'm way more ahead than a lot of people a year in. They haven't even started on their passion. They haven't even shared what they love. They haven't even cultivated that bravery to be like, listen, this is who I am. I'm looking to make a difference in my community. And some people are in their fears still. So
I see one thing that's happening is, again, it's the same, right? Like even prior to the pandemic, like people who I'm seeing say they're putting everything on hold because of this. I feel like they were already reserving that spot. Like they were already going to be doing that. And this was sort of like their perfect excuse to do it.
Right.
And I feel like that's always the hardest thing, especially as a coach, as a provider, it's the hardest thing to really help people on because you really need to want it. So even if you want to make progress and perfection is the thing that's holding you back, at the end of the day, like you just need to really want it to go out and do it. Right?
Right. I agree. When I did start this, I came from corporate America. I used to work for actually a business coaching company. Oh. And prior to that, I started a business about 10 years ago. Girl, that was a shit show. But my passion was there. I was like, I'm going to be a CEO somehow, some way at 21, not knowing life yet. And when I decided to go full throttle, I thought about the time when I failed that business and that I've always had that calling.
So what do you think made you fail that business?
Being 21. I was not ready to take on that responsibility, although, my ego was ready. My ego wanted to claim that title. I wanted to have that status, but I blew all the investment I was able to get. Everything tanked. But it was a huge lesson for me because I'm a different person now. That was 15 years ago for me. Yeah. Now I'm almost 3 years in and I'm finally getting results. But like 2 weeks ago, that's hashtag pandemic results.
Right. Yeah, it really is.
So when people say like you can't get results during this time, I call BS.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So let's talk about where you are now, right? So you've written a book. You're working on book number 2. And can you remind me the title of the book?
Yeah. So which one? The second one?
The first one.
The first one is called The Boss Mom Mentality. It was published in October. And it's super, personal growth for moms, obviously. And it was a huge turning point in my development when I published that, because I actually went and I was like, this is all of me.
Yeah.
And no hold back. No, nothing. Like you see all of it. You see the dark sides You see the happy sides. And I think that was really the terrifying thing, is just to own that I am imperfect. And yeah, so that's that. And then my second book is a mindful weight loss book. That is like the book 2 to the Boss Mom Mentality, just for health and wellness. And then I'm doing a lot of like advertisement things for a few of the clients I have. And that is actually doing pretty well, which I'm super shocked about. It's like one of those things where they say, just give the people what they want. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, you have your podcast, but the way we connected is you actually reached out and was like, hey, like, do you want to join my podcast community? When I feel like I was one of the first few people who was.
Oh, girl, you were like, you're the OG. It shows on there, like the first 10 people, and you're at that top.
Nice. I love it. I love it because it's one of my favorite communities to be a part of. Like, you kill it in there. And
thank you.
It's so genuine. It is so like service first, like finding and filling the need every single week, every single time you show up in there. And I think that is rendering like so much great energy into everything you're doing right now. So I love it. It's awesome.
Thank you. And don't you have a group too? Boss Brand, is it Boss Brand?
Brand Boss, because the podcast is the Brand Boss. And so I've also opened up a group community for the Brand Boss podcast as well. And I'll be honest, I really don't do as great of a job as you do. There's so many.
I want to join. Invite me, okay?
Okay, yes. I'll absolutely join. And, maybe you could, you can kind of keep me accountable in there, which would be awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, I opened up that community, and it was amazing, like getting people excited and getting everyone in there during the launch. But then this is really one of those things where I'm really going to commit to working on kind of moving forward, because while I made progress, I didn't keep it up. And why is this only coming to me right now as we are talking?
It's okay, girl. The thing with all of this is that we have so many things we're literally balancing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It really is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's one of those things where I created the group in a way that it would work really well with my workflow. Like, I would just snap it right into place. The content that goes in there would work really well. And I think what was happening with me was I was overextending myself in some areas and not really putting in the right amount of energy into like all the different areas that I've created. Like, it's not even like I went and promised this to somebody, like this was for somebody else. Like, this is something I created. Like, I'm 100% accountable for it,
You promised it to yourself.
Exactly.
That's what you did.
So I need to get with it. That is what I'm going to do. But even coming on here live with everybody. So that's what I did, was this last podcast episode I did. I read everybody's quotes and I said, I'm going to be going on live with every one of these people this week. And
oh my God, girl, I see you. I see you doing that. And I think the hardest thing for me is to do these.
Really?
And not because of the like being, just having that engaging conversation. Love this,
Yeah.
But it's the fact that I have to commit. Like, no. You ready? Can you edit that out?
I can.
Like, you have to stick to the time. Someone else is expecting you.
Yep, exactly. It's actually been wonderful for me to get up, and every single morning, no matter how lazy I feel, I know that I'm having one of these conversations later in the day. And it gets me going. It has me getting ready. It has me like really committing to my son, and like the time that I'm saying I'm committing to him, because he knows
that's huge.
Yeah, he's like, okay, so you're going to be on the phone or you're going to be doing your thing. And I know that I'm going to be busy. So I have to give him as much attention as I can until he could hold out for these hour-long things. Because I have like a client call right after this, right? So
right.
He's seeing me working, but he also isn't feeling neglected. And so just scheduling all of this time, committing to it, saying, hey, I'm going to do these things, has really been a great way to create a routine for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm enjoying myself. Thank you so much. I'm sorry?
And how are you doing with the kids around this time, too?
My life hasn't really changed. I've been working from home since I left the business coaching company I worked for last year. And I've already kind of created like a little groove with my one daughter, my 4-year-old who didn't go to school. And then now my kinder they're both here, which is so much easier because then it's like them two, they get to kick it. I have like little homeworks for them.
Right.
But really nothing has changed. I'm just trying to pivot.
Jump on my list and maybe we can like just do more lists together. I mean, if we are the pros at this whole stay-at-home thing, I am sure people want to know our tricks. So
absolutely. Well, I love this. Thank you so much for bringing this to my day today. I feel like things are coming to me today because of our conversation. So thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. And let's do more. We'll talk about it later. And thank you so much for being a voice for people here today and sharing your expertise and knowledge. So we'll
thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.